You see they're dry. You see there's no marrow in the bone. You see they're scattered all over the valley. They ain't even full skeletons. I mean, the bones are scattered all over the valley. They're just bones. But answer me a question, Ezekiel. Can these bones live? Ezekiel answers the only way he knows how to answer. Lord, you know. Critical race theory was born out of critical legal theory. Am I teaching y'all something today? There emerged two common beliefs linking all critical race theories. First, white supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's just a fact. How in the world are you going to fight against that being taught in any school? White supremacy has subordinated black people and other people of color. That's a fact. Why don't you want that to be taught in school? You let your schools teach us that Columbus discovered America. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that George Washington couldn't tell a lie. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that some slave owners were beneficent and good slave owners. There were no good slave owners. Anybody who owned people was evil. That's a lie. You let your schools teach us that Abraham Lincoln was good for Negroes. No, Abraham Lincoln was trying to save the Union. And Abe Lincoln himself said if he could save the Union and keep black people in chains, he would do it. That's a lie. Come on, somebody. You let them teach us about a white Jesus. You let them teach us that Native Americans were the aggressors. Come on, somebody. That white folk had a manifest destiny and that the pilgrims were good to Native Americans. That's a lie. All day, every day, you let them teach us lies. All throughout my history in school, I was taught lies. But you got a problem with critical race theory because it teaches the truth that white supremacy has subordinated black people and people of color. The right to bear arms. Let me just back up a little bit. And let me take you on back to the late 1960s when Ronald Reagan was the governor of California. And they were oppressing black folk, and a group of men and women known as the Black Panther Party decided that they were going to defend the rights of black folk. And the Black Panthers decided that the Second Amendment wasn't just for white folk. So they strapped themselves with guns and showed up at the Capitol in California. And when they saw them Negroes with guns, come on, somebody. That's why I say if you ever really want to get gun laws changed, just strap all these Negroes up. They'll change them laws before the week is over. When the Black Panthers, watch this, I want you to read, the California legislator passed what was called the Mulford Act. It was a gun control act that decided who could get guns, who couldn't get guns, what could be in your background, what couldn't be in your background. It was the first time in history that the National Rifle Association, the NRA, supported restrictive gun legislation, all because black folk had the nerve to get strapped. Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, go get strapped. Amen, somebody. Y'all gonna say Bishop told us to get strapped. I said it. Go get strapped. It just got real quiet up in here. But y'all already know I'm a triple P. Amen. Y'all know what a triple P is, right? A pistol packing preacher. Amen, somebody. Start on that. Okay. Hey, blessings, you all. Peace. How are you? How are you? Good to have you with us. Welcome to another edition of the Black Love Experience. We're getting ready to go live on the air. Got a little music playing in the background, a little John Coltrane. If you want to hear the music, of course, you got to go to WTCCFM.org or iHeartRadio or TuneIn, one of those, because Facebook is very sensitive about certain commercial music being played. And I don't want them cutting the stream off, because that's going to cause all kinds of other little problems. So we'll get some music on shortly that they won't mess with. In the meantime, rep your city, rep your town. In the meantime, do me a favor, like, share, subscribe, do all that stuff. Let your friends know that we're on the air. I'm kicking on live now with my Twitter spacers. Got to get them live, and then I got to get my Instagrammers in here. Got to pull the Instagrammers in. All right. Let's get Instagram popping. What's up, Grammars? Sorry, Facebookers. I keep getting all up in y'all screen. It's all good in the hood. 413-736-2781. Like, share, subscribe, do all that good stuff, y'all. Come on now. Let's get it popping. What's up, Instagram? All right, we're gonna throw on some Ferris Hill, bring y'all into the rhythm here. There we go. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. Talk to me, Daddy. A positive attitude says everything about you. Attitude is a little thing that makes a big difference. Every day you get up, you've been given a gift. That's why they call it the present. And it's up to you of how you unwrap it. So yesterday is history, tomorrow's a mystery, today is a gift. So don't let the pain of your past bleed into your present and poison your future. Stop replaying the movie. Why did this happen to me? When it's done with you, be done with it. If it seems like you keep running into pigeons, you're flying too low. Indication that you're flying too low. So set your sights a little higher. Remember, eagles fly by themselves. If you can see the invisible, you can do the impossible. Allow your challenges to be a stepping stone to propel you into new possibilities. So be discontent with your past accomplishment. You're only as great as your last success. So maintain your hunger and your passion. Remember this, within every seed there is a tree, and every tree there is
and forest. Who and what you were born into is simply the environment to prepare you for your ultimate purpose. It was not a setback, it was your purpose and potential is big your past, pain, or problem. That gave to you. Listen to your heart, don't let your mind fool you.
Okay, Greensboro, I see you.
That gave to you. Whatever you do is gonna surely come back to
Greenville, I see you.
Successful people will do the things they hate to get the things they love. Much of life is about
Happy Friday.
You gotta give up something to get something. Success is not about what you've accomplished, but it's what you have overcome. For it's the test that you pass in life which qualifies you for the next level. You have to be willing to face your challenges and overcome them. Most people drive 12,000 miles a year moving forward, but most accidents are caused when they move backwards. You gotta stay focused on what's ahead of you instead of what's behind you. It's your daily routine that determines your success or failure. Whatever you practice at is what you become great at. What's more important than being intelligent is having the right attitude. Respect costs you nothing, but it will cost you everything not to have it. So don't be too smart for your own good. Remember, a hard head makes a soft behind. What's more important than your five senses is common sense. The heart of a fool is in his mouth, but the heart of a wise
Heart of
is in
a
his
fool.
character. So don't sweat the small things. The answer for a short temper is a long walk. Be slow to speak, quick to listen, and remember this: you haven't
90.7 WTCC. Good morning. Welcome to the Black Love Experience, TGIF. Thank God it's Friday. We made it to the weekend. It's a little wet out here, a little rainy, but we made it. Good morning to each and every one of you. I want to thank Minister Rick Robb for bringing us up to the 9 o'clock hour. Elder Rick Robb for bringing us up until the 9 o'clock hour, playing the best in gospel music. You can hear Elder Rick Robb and Deacon Ernie Johnson rotating every Friday morning from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m., bringing you the best in gospel music. Great way to end your week. You started out with gospel with Kenneth Barnett on Mondays before I get on, and ended off on Friday with gospel at 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. So great bookends to your week. Continuing on with the conversation of what's going on in the world. Listen, Joe Biden is a war criminal. And I know you diehard Democrats are upset about any of us having the audacity to criticize publicly any Democrat because you think that means it's helping Trump. And we ought to just shh, just be quiet, pretend that the atrocities perpetrated by people with a D behind their name aren't happening. Just don't say anything about it. No. We're talking about lives. We're talking about babies being slaughtered and murdered. We're talking about genocide. We're talking about a modern day Holocaust that is being endorsed and with full-throated support from the President of the United States of America, authorizing a ground attack in Gaza. And get this, instructing his UN ambassador to veto a resolution condemning murdering civilians and condemning, not only condemning murdering civilians, but urging humanitarian aid. Who vetoes a resolution like that? Who vetoes a resolution that says we ought to condemn targeting and murdering innocent civilians? And since innocent civilians are being killed and wounded, we ought to urge nations to send humanitarian aid to help them. The United States vetoed that resolution at the instruction of Joe Biden.
But y'all diehard Democrats are like, stop it, Bishop. You're being divisive. You're helping Trump. Let me tell you something. If you don't have a conscience to where you care about your president endorsing the murder of children and vetoing a resolution that says stop targeting innocent civilians, and who authorizes sending more weapons to Israel so they can keep doing it, you need to check out yourself. There's something wrong with you. There's something wrong with your humanity. If you are that dedicated to the Democrat Party that you can ignore man's inhumanity to man and what's happening and what they are endorsing and supporting and funding, then you have lost your conscience. And there's something wrong with you, not those of us who speak against it, not those of us who are condemning it. So we're going to talk about that when we come back. Tell a friend, tell somebody. The bishop is on the air. You ought to have enough humanity in you that you can speak against wickedness no matter which party is doing it. Wickedness is wickedness. I don't care if it's got a Democrat face or a Republican face. All right. If you switch your standards based upon political party, then you are not dedicated to the altruistic benefit of humanity to begin with. And some of y'all, unfortunately, are more Democrat than you are black. You're more Democrat than you are Christian. You're more Democrat than you are human. And that's a problem. 413-736-2781. 413-736-2781. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. Put on your scuba gear. It's about to get deep. About to get deep, y'all. About to. That's the wrong song. Let me get the right song on here. It's about to get deep, though. All right. Don't go nowhere.
I like that. Where you get that one from, Bishop?
I forgot.
Love Joy tell me to tell you how.
I look
Love
in
Joy
the
just told me to tell you
mirror
how.
and I like what I see.
All right.
A strong, beautiful
All right.
black
Take
woman
care.
staring back at me. One who's seen a lot of pain and had her share of sorrow, but who never gave up hope for a brighter tomorrow. I've been lied to, cheated on, stolen from and hit, but it just made me stronger and I refuse to quit. That's right. And though I've been tempted, I refuse to stoop level. I rose above that nonsense.
Made a liar of the devil.
The devil who said I wasn't good enough, cute enough, or worthy of love. I kicked his butt with
Divine power from above.
Power that says I can do all things through Christ, which strengthens me and brought me out of darkness so that I could see that I'm smart, I'm beautiful,
I'm a child of the King.
Abundant love for me he came to bring. Oh yes, when I look in the mirror,
I love what I see.
That strong, beautiful black woman, that woman is me.
.7 WTCZ. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning to each and every one of you that are in the Pioneer Valley and beyond. Do me a favor again, rep your city, rep your town. Let me know where you are chiming in from. Always like to know where our people are connecting with us from. So let me check out where y'all at. Let me get my cat popped up. See exactly where y'all at. If you haven't checked in and you're on the internet, go on and check in. Let me know. Rep your city, rep your town. I got Greenville, South Carolina, Greensboro, North Carolina in the building. I got Winston-Salem, North Kakalaki. H-Town is always deep in the building. Yeah, I see a bunch of H-towns. St. Petersburg, Florida is up in here. The 413. Springfield, Massachusetts is in the building. Strong Island, New York is up in here. Raleigh, North Carolina is in here. Let me see. Mobile, Alabama is here. Detroit, Michigan, checking in. Another Raleigh, North Carolina. Toronto, Canada. Johannesburg, South Africa. Quebec, Canada is in the building. I see my cousin Tracy Swan in the building on the gram. Yeah, where y'all at, Graham? Come on, check in. Let me know where you're coming in from. 413-736-2781. I see you in the house, Springfield. I see you. I definitely see you up in the building. Once again, 413-736-2781. In the Twitter space, you can put it in the comments section. Let me know where you all are coming in from. Now, you know, America is quick to call others war criminals. They are quick to throw that tagline out there. They were quick to label Saddam Hussein a war criminal for invading Kuwait. They're quick to label Manuel Noriega a war criminal, even though he hadn't invaded any nation. They're quick to label Vladimir Putin a war criminal for going into Ukraine. They were quick to label Slobodan Milosevic a war criminal for going into Kosovo. And the list goes on and on and on about governments and dictators that America has accused of crimes against humanity, and labeled war criminals. They are very, very quick to put those labels on folks. And see, my problem with America is that America often gets a case of amnesia, and it forgets, obviously, the harm and the damage that it has done to humanity throughout the annals of history. It is quick, and the problem is most of our people in America, they don't have a clue about history. They have no historical perspective. They don't read, they don't research, they don't learn anything about history. So the only thing that they know is what they tell them on television. And then every now and then they'll try to Google something when they want to argue with you and try to prove you wrong. They'll try to Google something that fits their opinion. But they really have no sense of history. And when I say history, a lot of folks don't know what happened in the last 20 years, let alone throughout the history of America, throughout world history. And America is relatively young in the scope of world history. There are trees and houses in Europe and in South America and other places that are older than America. America is just a drop in the history bucket. And people who live here act like America been here forever. And they really just don't have that. That's the reason why they act like slavery was so long ago. You know, as if 150 years since emancipation was like ancient history. That's nothing in the scope of human history. That's part of what the historians would call the modern era. So they're trying to have conversations about the atrocities that are happening in Israel, and they don't even know the history of how the current state of Israel came into being. We're going to be talking about that on Sunday. As a matter of fact, let me get the info right now so you and invite you to come out. We are co-sponsoring along with the Samuel DeWitt Proctor Conference with the Progressive National Baptist Convention and with the Rainbow Push Coalition. The Kojic Social Justice Ministry is co-sponsoring with them a series of conversations entitled To Be Black and Christian in These Times of War. It's a national teach-in webinar, and you have to register to be part of it. The first conversation will take place this Sunday evening, 7 to 8:30 Eastern Time, 7 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time. I'll put that graphic up on my socials once I get off the radio, but you can go to the Proctor Conference Instagram and you can see the graphic there. But the first conversation we're having is the sacred identities, land and culture. We're going to give you a backdrop so you at least have an understanding how Israel came into existence, who was there, how it got sanctioned as a state, how Palestinians who were indigenous to the land got pushed down to the West Bank. All of that. We're going to be talking about all of that so you have an understanding. And I'll be part of that conversation. The Reverend Jackie Lewis, the Reverend Dr. Freddie Haynes from Rainbow Push, Reverend Dr. Will Gaffney, myself, and Reverend Dr. Jacqueline Thompson will all be a part of that conversation happening on this Sunday. Then we have 3 other conversations that will take place after that. Reimagining Healing, Justice, and Peace will be on October 29th. Call to Action, Human Rights, Humanitarian Aid, and Ubuntu on November 5th. And then finally, on November 12th, A New Way Forward, Healing of the Nations. So every Sunday from here through November 12th, we'll be having these series of conversations about to be Black and Christian in these times of war, and trying to give you a real historical perspective, because most of our people really don't have that historical perspective. And then most of our Christians have been so indoctrinated into the westernized, whitenized version of Christianity that they've been told that you cannot speak critically of Israel. They have literally interpreted a scripture about those who bless Israel, God will bless them, and those who curse Israel, God will curse them. And that's not even what the text says. As a matter of fact, if you read it correctly, it was talking to Abraham about him individually. Those who bless you, I'll bless them. Those who curse you, I'll curse you. It wasn't even talking about the nation of Israel. Matter of fact, the nation of Israel didn't even exist when that promise was given. But that's what happens when you bastardize scripture. You know, people go and they continue quoting stuff and they take it out of context. And like my friend Aubrey Hendricks said, who will be part of these conversations that we're having coming up, a text out of context will cause you to get conned. And we get a lot of Christians that are conned, and that are condemning people to hell for having the audacity to challenge and condemn a government that is indiscriminately murdering civilian people and labeling it a war against Hamas. Think about it for a moment. Think about it. Especially black people, think about it. This collective punishment that is happening. Does it ring a bell with you in any way, shape, or form? Think about it for a minute. Let's think about all of the over 100 massacres that happened in America where white folks went into black townships and murdered entire towns and burned them to the ground. Think about that for a minute. Those were forms of collective punishment. A black man would be falsely accused of something, and in retaliation for what he was falsely accused of, they kill everybody in the town and burn it down. That's what happened in Rosewood. White woman who was having an affair with another white man, to cover up her affair, lied and said a black man assaulted her. So they said, we're just going to kill all the black folk in Rosewood. Burn the town down. That's in essence what Israel is doing. Hamas, a small faction of Hamas, planned an attack on Israeli citizens. So in response, we're going to bomb hospitals and apartment buildings and homes. We're going to kill innocent men, women, and children and babies and the whole nine. We just going to decimate all of Gaza in retaliation. That's not a war against Hamas. That's genocide. And if you condemned the massacres that happened in America, like Rosewood and Tulsa, etc., for that type of activity, how the hell can you stand up and support what Israel is doing? Come on, y'all. I had a bishop who told me that I was sowing the seeds of discord and division. I said, by challenging the murder of children? And so I had to ask the question, what kind of Christianity are you practicing? Now, I really need to know that. What kind of Christianity are we practicing when we think we should hush up and be quiet? And this also goes to those of you who say, it ain't our business. We black and we don't need to be worried about that. That's your problem now. Because you think you should ignore everything that's happening in the world. That's why stuff sneaks up on you. Because you so pro-black and ignoring other stuff that you don't even know when stuff is actually affecting you. Because y'all was so pro-black that they sat there and they wiped out the Voting Rights Act right up under your nose while you were being pro-black. They were working behind the scenes, filing cases and taking those cases all the way up to the Supreme Court, and y'all didn't know it until it hit the news that the Supreme Court gutted the Voting Rights Act. Because you were so pro-black, we got time to be worried about that. You were so pro-black until they were filing cases, until they got all the way up to the Supreme Court and got rid of affirmative action. And while y'all being so pro-black, they're taking your rights away, slowly but surely. So y'all get on my nerves, you super duper black folk who ain't paying no attention to nothing else and talking a good game about we got other things to worry about. While you doing nothing about those things. Albert Einstein was a Jew. And Albert Einstein said, it would be my greatest sadness to see Zionists, talking about Jews, to see Zionists due to Palestinian Arabs what Nazis did to Jews. This is what Albert Einstein said. And that's exactly what they're doing. It's not a war, it's a Holocaust. And how does a people survive a Holocaust and turn around and exact that same kind of pain and terror on another people? And then demand that the world walk in lockstep with them. Think about that for a minute. And once again, black folk in America, we get so upset when people challenge Democrats because y'all so scared of Trump. We done survived bigger boogers than Trump. Do I want Trump to be president? No. No. Should that stop me from criticizing what the current president is doing? Not at all. And if you're of the mentality that you cannot hold accountable a party that you give 95% of your votes to, there's something wrong with that picture. You ought to be outraged that a man that you voted for is hugging on Bibi Netanyahu and pledging to send him more weapons, more of your money, and sanctioning a ground offensive in Gaza. They've already decimated Gaza with airstrikes. And he's sanctioning, bring the troops in there and finish them off. And y'all stop trying to gaslight me. This is not about the Palestinian people. This is a war against Hamas. Yeah, that little baby was fighting for Hamas. They murdered 2,000 children. Which of those 2,000 children were fighting for Hamas? I'll wait. It's not a war against Hamas. It's a genocide. It's trying to obliterate. This is what they've always wanted to do. Clear the Palestinian people out of Gaza and completely take over the entire land. And that attack a couple Saturdays ago by Hamas gave them their excuse to do what they've always wanted to do. Let's just keep it a buck in terms of what's happening. Just keep it 100. Joe Biden has joined in with, and Netanyahu has long been a war criminal, long before now. He was a war criminal before he ever became the prime minister of Israel. And Biden has always been a warmonger. He's always been a conservative Democrat. He's always found himself siding with Republicans. Matter of fact, sometimes he's out Republicaning the Republicans. He's calling for 100,000 cops with no police accountability, with no police reform law in place, spending $13 billion on new cops. He's always been the lock 'em up, law and order guy. That's crime bill Joe Biden. You know, mass incarceration. That's from Joe Biden. 3 strike laws. All of that stuff that came out of the crime bill. That's Joe Biden. And so it actually was no real surprise that he has been giving full-throated endorsement to everything Benjamin Netanyahu wants to do in Israel. And you all are getting nervous now because y'all black men got to stop talking about Biden, and y'all got to stop talking about this election. Y'all gonna let Trump get in. Y'all need to just be quiet. You're being used by the Democrats, by the Republicans. No, ain't nobody being used by no Republican. We're speaking out of humanity. Who wants a president that is locking arms with a war criminal? That is endorsing the carnage that is happening there. That is spreading propaganda and lies. Joe Biden was spreading the beheaded babies story that the reporter from CNN apologized for. He said he saw pictures of it, and then his administration walked it back and said, no, he was never shown pictures of beheaded babies. Well, how did Joe see them? Because that's what he said. He's helping to spread the propaganda that justifies what Israel is doing. Listen, for those of y'all that are super scared of Trump, you better hope somebody primaries Joe Biden, because Joe is losing a whole lot of votes from people of good conscience and goodwill, from good, decent human beings. And I'm seeing it all over, are saying they will never vote for Biden again. And these are people who voted for him in 2020, who are saying there's no way in 24 will they vote for Joe Biden. That they will leave that part of the ballot blank. Because they won't vote for Trump, but they won't vote for Biden. And let the chips fall where they may before they hold their nose and vote for Biden. So y'all in trouble, Democrats. I'm telling you, you're already in trouble because of the apathy towards the issues that concern black people. You're already losing votes among your most loyal constituency. And the way he's handling this war and locking arms with white supremacists and warmongers, he's losing even more. He's losing even more. So for those of you who are scared of a Trump presidency, you better start bracing yourself, because you might have the same shock you had in 2016 at the rate Joe Biden is handling things. 413-736-2781. I am Constance. You got the microphone. Constance, you got the mic.
Yes, thank you so much, Bishop. Grand Rising, I appreciate you having this space this morning. Yeah, there's a few things I just want to say. Number one, I absolutely agree with you about the Black Democrats, Joe Biden's actions. It is absolutely a war crime committing. We know that Blackwater and BlackRock, some of those type of organizations have been given wars that are against the NATO treaty to the Israeli armies and Israeli forces on ground. So yes, anyone condoning or supporting the action or behavior is absolutely problematic. And as for, I don't see how they can say that they support democracy in any form, supporting Joe Biden and things that he's done. And then the other thing I wanted to bring up was that, some of the issues that we have not seen come to surface. I have yet to see someone talk about Britain and how they are one of the key players in Israel's capabilities, how they gave the land to them back in the 1960s, 70s, when they did some of those treaties, gave Israel the land to move into as their so-called sanctuary space. But then, of course, even going back past that, I don't hear people talking about the Arabic invasion on North Africa and how that land was basically taken from Black people originally first, and that, technically, in all truthfulness and honesty, neither of the people, Palestinians nor the Israelis, own the land that they are on. that is, if you go back in true history of time, that is Black people's land that they're
Yep.
actually on and fighting
Yep.
over. But I appreciate you, like I said before, having this space and definitely bringing up the issues of Joe Biden's actions. But again, I think that we're going to talk about historical reference. Let's talk about the real historical reference and how all of this really came to pass, and what we're looking at in modern time, and how we know, no matter how long that they're on that land, there will be no such thing as peace, because unfortunately for neither ethnic group does not belong to them, truthfully and honestly. And I'll land my plane on that, Bishop.
All right, appreciate you. Definitely, good historical perspective. You're absolutely correct. It was owned, occupied by Black Americans, because, as a matter of fact, what y'all call the Middle East was really all Northeast Africa. It only became referenced as the Middle East in the 1850s. They built a man-made waterway called the Suez Canal that separated the landmass that we know as the Middle East from Northeast Africa. You're absolutely correct. Black people were displaced. Arab Palestinians began occupying the land for a couple of centuries. And then the European Jews began to live side by side with Palestinians in that land. And then at the end of World War II, Britain, who had colonized most of the known world at that time, had claims on Palestine. And in agreement with France and America, they partitioned off the claims that Britain had to create the state of Israel, to be governed and occupied by Jews from Europe that look like folk from Europe, not that look like the Jews of biblical times, who looked like people from Africa. That's a conversation we're not going to get into right now. But there's a whole historical perspective that you need to consider, for all of that. But as far as the current struggle goes, the Palestinian folks who are fighting for what they believe are their rights of their land is because they were occupying that land for a couple hundred years before the European Jews got there. They started going there in the late 1800s, around 1859 through 1947. And yeah, there's a whole historical perspective that you have to understand. And I saw a skit that put it in very simplistic terms, but understandable terms. In the skit, a man comes to another man's house armed and says, "Hey, need you to pack up your stuff and get out. This is my house." And the man said, "What do you mean this is my house? I've been living here for decades." He said, "Yeah, but I'm armed, and if you don't move out, I'll kill you. But I tell you what you can do. You can move into the shed." And then the man who owned the house was in the shed, went to the shed and grabbed a bat. And the guy said, "Hold up, what are you doing?" He said, "Well, I got to defend myself." He said, "Why are you being so hostile? You're acting like a terrorist." I mean, it's very simplistic, but it fits what actually happened. Okay, y'all get off this land that you've been living on all this time. And then when they resist the occupation and the colonization, then they are labeled as being the terrorists. And white folks have always gaslighted people around the world like that. Like they gaslight people in America, that Black people are the ones inherently violent, even though 70% of all major violent crimes are committed by white folks, but we're the ones who are labeled as inherently violent. I mean, there's always a gaslighting thing. The old black on black crime, because 90% of Black people that are murdered are killed by Black people, but 88% of white folks that are killed by white folks, and nobody's calling it white on white crime. They're always creating a narrative that paints the people that they victimize as the bad people. It's crazy, and the world buys into that. And the whole world has bought into Israelis being the victims in this whole scenario. That just one day the Palestinians were living in harmony, and then they just decided that we're going to start bombing Israel. We're as if this happened in a vacuum, and there's no context that helps to define the conflict that is happening. Let me get Amia Hampton in here. Amia, you got the mic. (413-736-2781). Good morning, Amia. All right. See if we can get it through. Unmute my sister. Okay, she dropped off. Put your request back in. Let me get M1 in here. All right, M1.
Good afternoon, Bishop.
Hello.
Son, yeah, good afternoon. So I'm just going to say this here. I couldn't care less about Democrats or Republicans, but you see, the stakes in the 2024 elections are pretty high. And if Biden is the nominee, we are going to see what happened with Al Gore in 2000. Let's not forget that Al Gore alienated a lot of liberal Democrats because he started off his career as a conservative Democrat when he served in the Senate of Tennessee. Biden is going to lose next year. And let's not forget that Alito and Thomas are going to retire in the next 4 years. And that means if Trump wins, he's going to replace them. If Trump wins, this means the Republicans take the Senate again next year. And this means they put 2 more right-wingers on the court.
Yeah. Well, you know. Here,
let's never forget. I couldn't care less about the Democrats or the liberals, but it's the fact that these conservatives are working day and night to strip away the rights of black people is what I'm more concerned about. And I see them on this black people that say, "Oh, I wouldn't vote." You have to vote, because if Trump gets back in, he's going to put more conservative judges who are ready to strip away black people's rights.
But here's the problem.
I always knew that.
Wait a minute, bro. Wait. Hold up. Here is the problem. You know, when we say black folks have to vote, and they have to vote for Biden, there are a lot of black people who are tired.
Bishop, please, can I say this?
There are a lot of black people. You got to let me talk too, brother. I don't know if you're not hearing me or what. There are a lot of black folks who are tired of the lesser of two evils game. They're tired of the hold my nose and vote for Biden because Trump is worse. They're tired of that game. Let me ask you a question. I mean, you know, honestly, okay, we know Biden's not going to put a conservative right winger on the court. That's important. It is important. But if you're getting the same policies out of Democrats that you're getting out of Republicans, if Biden's trying to put more cops on the street after failing to pass police reform, if Biden is deporting more black refugees in his first year than Trump deported in 4 years, if he's out Republicaning the Republicans, if he's warmongering and supporting white supremacy abroad and funding it, yet refusing to provide resources to dilapidated communities that black people have to live in, and won't even have a conversation about reparations and other important issues to black folk, then why are we bending over backwards saying we got to keep this man in office just to avoid getting another white man in office who will probably do the same things? I think black voters are weary of being taken for granted. They don't expect anything from Republicans because we don't vote for them. But how can we remain in a position where we don't expect anything from Republicans and we don't get anything from Democrats, even though we support them 95%? And that cannot always be the narrative. That cannot always be the motivation. There's a problem when the motivation to vote for Democrats is not what they're going to do for you. That the motivation to vote for them is, if you don't, you're going to get Trump. You're going to get the Republicans. It's going to be worse for you if you get them. If that's the best you got, that's a problem. If I'm running for office and I can't give you any virtues, I can't give you any positives about myself for which you should be inspired to vote for me, and the only thing I can give you is that guy over there is worse than I am. Don't you see the problem with that? And now he's standing arm in arm with a racist, xenophobic, white supremacist, warmongering criminal like Netanyahu, giving full-throated endorsement to every heinous thing he wants to do. But hold your nose. Vote for Biden, because he's the lesser of two evils. Brother, I think black folk in America are tired of that. Amia Hampton.
Hey, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay, sorry. I was having issues with Twitter, but Bishop, I do hope all is well. But let me start by saying that I do respect you and your history of speaking truth to power and what Black Americans are owed in America. I would never want to tell a grown person what to do, especially someone as seasoned as you, but respectfully, this Palestinian conflict has been your topic for like 4 lives straight. I know you stated earlier that there are a lot of Black people that are Black power first and don't want to hear about the Palestinian or the Israel conflict. I'm one of those people, but hear me out. I understand that we can, chew gum and walk at the same time, but these Palestinians come over here generation after generation as refugees. They're given economic handouts, stipends, grants, business loans off the back of us, the taxpayers. And these same people have a history of telling their children that they came over here with $1 in their pocket and they pulled themselves up by the bootstraps. And so why can't the Blacks? These Palestinians and Jews alike play into the Black-white racism that is the core of this American government. And that's America with the 3 Ks. Our government gives them a leg up over its own taxpaying citizens. This government destabilizes Black Americans economically by allowing everyone and their mama to come over here, put them in our neighborhoods first and foremost. And they are given carve-outs in every industry. I know I don't have to tell you about how we have been systematically shut out every business industry, from the tech industry to health and beauty industry, and the list goes on. All the patents and intellectual property stolen by these companies. That means that there is no generation later or even passed down to us. That means that we have had to begin again every generation. But again, these same Palestinians who, I'm not going to say you're wrong, but who you cape for, are allowed to set up little shops in our neighborhoods. And they have put our shops out of business to the point where now they have a monopoly on general and gas stations. And didn't the Palestinian American that owned in Minneapolis, Minnesota, didn't the son of that owner call the police on George Floyd, thus setting into motion his murder? The thing is, Bishop, these people practice religious insanity because their government has allowed these holy wars to take over generation after generation. They do the same thing, expecting different results, and this is text. I'm tired. Are they not tired yet? Instead of planning to this religious insanity, I want us to concentrate on our issues. I would love for you to be all things reparations, not saying that you aren't, but I would love for you to be like a virtual reparations headquarters. There are so many states and local and local reparations task force popping up all over the states, even some in this Confederate South. I'm trying to get one here in South Carolina. There's one in Fulton, Georgia right now. It would be so great for us to showcase and update our people and their progress. Have call to actions on your lives where we can discuss how to get our local officials to champion cash and land lineage-based reparations for descendants of persons enslaved in the United States who can track their families back to North America in the 1865 or prior and have had their families classified as either Negro, colored, mulatto, or Black, and currently classified as Black for at least 10 years. Have people from these task forces for updates and allow us to ask questions. Maybe start talking about how to trace your genealogists on and let them explain that it's a difference between that and DNA. Maybe speak to us how recently NAACP, I know it's not your chapter, but the president of the NAACP, Derek Johnson, is paired in lies from white Jewish Democrats saying that foundation of Black Americans are immigrants. And we are.
Okay, I think we lost her due to technical difficulties. But all right, so I hear what you're saying, and I agree with most of it and disagree with some of it. And the portion I disagree with is I don't disagree that people come to this nation, are assimilated into the thinking and the thought process of the white community, and espouse an anti-Black rhetorical perspective, as well as how they treat Black folks. There's no doubt about how that happens. When it comes to Palestinians, and they're not exempt from that criticism here in America as well. But by and large, America does not receive many Palestinian refugees. They have rejected most of Palestinian refugees because of their relationship with Israel. As a matter of fact, most Palestinian refugees wind up in Syria, Chile, Lebanon, Saudi Arabia. A few even wind up in Egypt when it's feeling altruistic. There are very few Palestinian refugees that actually wind up in America. Now, notwithstanding, that doesn't negate the things that you said about anti-Blackness among those that come. But like I said in my previous programs, yes, we can walk and chew gum at the same time. We can talk about reparations at the same time. You know who else talked about the plight of the Palestinians? The Black Panthers, Huey Newton and Stokely Carmichael, the original Black power brokers in America, were in solidarity with the plight of Palestinians. You know who else talked about the plight of the Palestinians? Nelson Mandela, Madiba, said that the freedom of the South Africans could not be complete without the freedom of the Palestinians. So there were plenty of Black leaders throughout the annals of history who talked about Black power and Black resistance and reparations, and at the same time looked at the plight of what was happening in Israel and spoke against the apartheid regime of Israel. And I just hold to what Dr. King said. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. So with all respect, my sister, we can deal with reparations, and we've got 52 weeks in the year, and if I've spent the last 4 shows, which is actually 2 weeks, last week and this week, talking about the Palestinian conflict, then I've pretty much spent quite a few shows talking about other issues that deal with the Black community. I got to wrap this up, y'all. Don Felton is in the studio. He's coming up next with mid-morning jazz and great Black music. So if you're listening over iHeart or TuneIn or WTCC FM, or if you're here in the 413 listening over our 4,000 watts. Keep it locked right here because he's coming up next, and he's definitely going to make it personal. I want to thank everybody who came out to the NAACP Freedom Fund banquet on last evening. We had a wonderful celebration and honoring of our awardees. Congratulations to all of the awardees from last night, and a great thank you to our keynote speaker, the Reverend Dr. Gina M. Stewart, who gave a riveting, inspirational, empowering message on last night. Shout out to my entire banquet committee, Freedom Malone, and the entire banquet committee, who did such a great job, in putting the whole thing together. It is what it is. They were absolutely fantastic. So thank you to all of y'all. And listen, if you want to know when we meet every fourth Tuesday. Every fourth Tuesday. You can check us out. We're still doing virtual meetings. So fourth Tuesday, virtual meetings. Definitely tune in, and we'll see you there. Okay. If you're not a member, you need to be one. That's all there is to that. All right. I got to go until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me. Always remember. Now y'all want to start calling in when I'm going off the air. Y'all a trip. Y'all a trip. Y'all something else. Caller, 2 seconds.
Yes. The sister called and she has a lot of grievance. But I just say this. Nelson Mandela said this once when he was at the Apollo Theater in New York. Your enemy, meaning the Palestinians, PLO, is not our enemy. It's our.
All right. You got to make y'all quick. I'm sorry. You hung up. All right. That's it. I got to go. Sorry, y'all. Y'all called too late. Don Felton is up next. You got 2 seconds, caller.
Hey, Bishop. I kept getting cut off. It's me, Amita. But I do want to leave with this, and I can't take credit for this, but in the space, a lady named Mama Yaya was speaking truth to power and said that the last time an Arab, a white Jew, and an African got together, we had the transatlantic slave trade. Unfortunately, neither of these three groups mentioned came to our aid when we were getting lynched, maimed, raped during chattel slavery. They were not there in aid or food or shelter. But that's just something to think about, and respectfully, let's shift the narrative next time for reparations for Black Americans only. All right. Have a good day.
All right, I gotta go, y'all. Don Felton's up next. Until the next time I talk to you and you talk to me, always remember, God loves you. So do I. I'm out. Peace. What's going on? I have no idea what's happening. Oh. All right. All right. Get this stuff out of here. All right, Facebook, I'm out.